Okay, let's begin. Let's start with this. It's going to be, I'm hoping, very instructive class. Exercises were very difficult, but let's see what we learn from this. I did quite badly, I have to say. I solved it. Well, I'll tell you more as we go by on each position. So let's start with the first one. So basically here, we are looking at this X-ray here and also these pieces. We can always move the rook, but we should all check what forcing moves are there in this position. Intermediate moves is a thing. It's a very important thing in tactics. D takes e4 here. We can play. Okay, so the point, if D takes e4, then nothing matters. We play rook a2. This is quite clear. And if knight a8, we don't have to take the knight. We take on d3, and now we're going to take on e2, and also the rook on f1 will be attacked, and so is the knight. So the position is just collapsing here for white. Basically, game over. Okay, we move on. Not too difficult. Okay, here, for example, this one I did not get right, but that was absolutely not because it's a difficult position, but I just did not see. I did not see that I could just take this bishop on g2, honestly. So the right move is king takes on g2. Nothing like rook g3 or anything like this, because black can play here, and nothing is happening. Just game over. You're not taking the bishop. The next move is going to be either bishop h1 or bishop d5, and at least, and it's over. Also, any move like h4, which I think this was my solution, and it's actually the move played in the game, trying to get rook g3 in. Black just better after rook f5. Okay, so Michelle said there were some problems with the link. Okay, that's good to know. So more people will be coming in, I guess. What type of problem was there? Was not in the website or something? Broken link. Okay. Okay, I'll make sure. But is it fixed now, or? Okay, so you can go to the forum. Yeah. So it's fixed now on the recordings page. Also, they telling me. All right. So there has been many problems with this here. Okay, guys, thanks for telling me this. This is sort of important information, because I'm sure this can be fixed. There were some changes on the website. All right. So okay, good stuff, Tim. Thanks for telling me this. I'll pass this. I'll pass this over and have the team solve it out. Thank you, guys. So okay, so basically now we have to go to the recording. Yeah, you should go to the course page now. I think that this has changed because essentially, just gonna explain it very quickly before continuing with the class. We don't want everyone, like there are different types of memberships, and we don't want everyone having access to everything. Like people who sign for a month, they sign for a reason, and you know how it is out there. So basically, this is the reason why you have to go to the course page now. But now, once you know where there is, you should have no problem finding it and just getting used to the new way. Yeah, it would have been better to communicate this. I agree with this. I agree. No, it's definitely there are changes being made, and things are going to get better. That's for sure. But like with most things, when you start touching, then you can get this kind of problems. Anyway, these ones that you're telling me about the links and everything, I will pass these messages and make sure the staff gets to work with this. No, Rook G3 is not winning at all, because after Rook G3, then Bishop D5 comes in here, and when you take on G7, King H8, there is no actual way to do anything, and you cannot mate, and you cannot bring more pieces, and you cannot remove the rook from F5, and it almost seems like the white king is weaker than the black king. Actually, probably is. So the winning move is basically you have to take the bishop, and now there is no threat. However, there is one small detail here. After Rook D4, which a lot of people saw, Rook G5, there is nothing, because I can just escape Hilson. This is something we have been over quite a few times. The king just goes to E2, and there are multiple ways to defend. So Rook takes D4, and now the most precise move is not Knight F3. It's not Knight F3, because after Rook F4, it's not so clear cut. It seems like it will be difficult to break from the pin, and yeah, this is not entirely clear. But Knight E4 is better when you don't let the rook cross to the king's side, and you are taking on G7. You are also playing Rook G3 if you want. So this is the main idea. This one is much better. So people are saying here Rook D3. You can just take on D3 if you want. You can take on G7, you can take on D3. Queen E4, Rook F3. And everything is sort of sorted out. Yeah. What happens after Knight F3, Rook F4? I think that if we take on G7, I wonder if black can just play something like, how is the material count? Like, this is like 3 pawns, okay, 4, fine. Like, maybe, can we get something like Rook D8 in? I'm not even sure what is the threat, but maybe I think that this idea could give black some play still. Find it hard to believe. I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay, let's check this one because I have forgotten. Yeah, so here, actually no, it's first Rook G4 check. Yeah, this is what I thought. There was something wrong here. There is first Rook G4 check, and now when you play King F1, now Rook F4. So this way, he's taking the knight. Yeah, this is the idea. This is the idea. He's taking the knight, not Rook F4, sorry. It's Rook G4 and Rook F4. So black is taking the knight, and when you defend, then Rook takes F6. And the position is, now you can see why this is less clear, because there are no weaknesses on black's king. So yeah, you are a piece up, but all the structure on black side is intact, and it's not so easy to convert this advantage. Is that I want to make sure it's clear. Like, black can bring the pieces slowly. There is no direct thing. It's just that it's just difficult to get to the king. The piece itself, there are too many pieces on the board, and not so easy to exchange everything right now. It's just a small advantage for white. It's 2 pawns also. Not even that clear. Okay, Let's move on to the next one. Okay, here, this one is nice. Knight d4, there is a problem in the second rank. Also, you need to stop mate no matter what. A lot of people went for this check. Okay. It is important to see the opponent's idea everywhere, okay, in every position. It is very important. So you have to go like knight d4. And yeah, the point is that after queen d4, you can exchange queens, and then you have rook b2. And then after rook f2, you can play e3. And this is winning. If rook e2, you have bishop c4. Now, h7 is a little bit trickier, and you take. But now in this position, if you play e3, there is bishop g6. However, the material is even, so you just go f5. You don't need to win a piece in this case. You just win the end game. Okay, moving on. This one, okay, this one was simpler. We just take on a8, take on a8, bishop e4, rook a2, and everything is defended. a1, c2, b4, everything is protected. There is no way for black to do anything, so it's just. Actually, this was missing the game. Here, why play c5 for a strange reason? Rook a8, yeah. We are missed for a very strong player, Vokidov from Uzbekistan. That's a rare miss. Okay, here, pieces in trouble. We have to see this queen being in massive trouble here. How do we trap the queen? That's the question. Okay, rook e4 traps the queen. We have to calculate pawn takes on e5, but then intermediate queen f8, rook f8, rook h4. We count the pieces and we're winning on points. We have an extra exchange, I believe. That's good enough. That's all. Yeah, we could also take on h4. The other thing, like, why would we allow the opponent to double the pawns? At this point, we are just trying to be precise. You can also take on h4. Doesn't matter. Somehow, g3 doesn't work because after queen h3, you don't have a way to trap the queen. And you have to take on c6, but after knight b6, the game is less clear. White is better, but this is an unclear position. I think that now you have to take on e6, by the way. Yeah, white is better with, you can play c4 or whatever. But the thing is that here, black is going to have counterplay. Maybe bishop g4, queen h5 idea, sort of like in the Marshall gambit. There's still work to do. So this doesn't make, it's not winning. Makes sense, but it's not winning. All right, we're moving on to the next one. So basically here, f2 is hanging. So the only way, and also f7. But after rook c7, that's it. Okay, there is knight d3 here. There is this move. But we can play queen c3. And after queen a6, here comes this tactical knight takes f4. And black has a better position. Actually, it's just winning a piece. Game over. All right, that is first page. not the easiest page I have seen for first one, but also not terrible. But now the difficult stuff begins. So here, we start with knight takes e7 check. And after knight takes e7, g takes f6, it seems like white is winning with whatever move now. We're taking on g7, we're playing rook f1. The attack is simply devastating here. I cannot see what is black even going to play. Like, this is the answer. You know, like if you play now knight c6, we take on g7. And after king h8, I don't know, we can go f7 probably, threatening rook g8, threatening to, yeah, whatever, rook g5. Even rook f1 is a threat, so that's not problematic at all. King f8 maybe. But you have queen d6. If queen d6 is not winning, then I don't know what. And then there is rook e7 next. So nothing else works for black here. So 97 is the move. How can you get this wrong? If you play rook f1, you are not paying attention to the opponent's idea. Here, queen g4 works. All right, so this is a trick that you need to be, well, it's not a trick, it's just a threat. He's exchanging pieces this way, and you lose your attacking chance. Always pay attention to the opponent's idea before even you start calculating. The mix sheet this week was full of opponent's idea, and a lot of people got it wrong. So that's a question you got to ask. That was a clear sign of a pattern there, missing the opponent's idea all the time. So if you start with g takes f6, then it doesn't quite work, because now, for example, after knight e7, knight takes, rook g7, I think black can just play king h8. This is the move. The point being that rook g8 is now available after rook e7. So wait. I have a serious doubt on this one. What happens if I play rook f1 here? It's actually very interesting. Rook g8, but rook g8, I can take on g8 and then rook f5. And we play queen g5. I thought so, but I'm not seeing it. Like, even queen takes on g5. Okay, there is an interesting suggestion here. d4, which is cold. It's very cold. Can this even be possible? It makes sense. So rook takes f5, knight takes f5, and now there is this double on the rook. I will be taking on g7 and defending the rook on h5. So this clearly doesn't work for white. I only think that rook e7 here. And now with this diagonal shutdown, maybe black can play, I'm not sure what, but there's gotta be a way. not exactly sure what should black play in this position, because rook g8, I can take on g8, king takes g8, and then I take on f5, and that seems like I'm going to be wait. Okay, let's check this out. So here you have to play here, then I take, you have to take, and then here, and this position is what? So rook g5, for example, you cannot go to h1, but going to f2, rook g2 will come, and then rook c2, and king f1. How is this? Maybe even just rook g2 in this position. Maybe. I'm not sure. Okay, let's check this one out. It takes d4, rook c2. And d5. But d6, king f7. I mean, d6, king f8. That's what I meant. Rook b8, yes. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's check this one out. Let's see what we got wrong. So here, yeah, it takes d4 is winning. But d4 does not work. Rook e7. Okay. This is a nice exercise. Queen takes f1. And okay, here we can see that after knight g7, we have a lot of pieces, rook f5 and rook g8 coming next. This one already makes more sense. d4 would have been nice, has the same idea, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because of rook takes on e7. It takes d4 and d5, white is winning. Here, rook b8, here, and then d7. So yeah, some amazing stuff. Okay, moving on to the next one. Lots of okay, let's hurry up a little bit. Otherwise, we're not gonna finish on the hour. Okay, here, attack the strongest squares. All these moves are quite typical in the attack. So here, strongest square meant to be f5 because it is apparently like defended with a lot of pawns. There is also a weak square here on g7 that we try to access. We have this pawn here on h6. So f5 is very natural. Also, this is pinned, so we want to open up the king. Now, after g takes f5, the move that you want to see is queen g3, pinning, somehow attacking d6 and attacking on g7. And right here, there were a lot of long variations given. Some of them were right, some of them not. But you still, like, I believe that, until some point, when you are out of control, you should just stop writing because it's supposed to be, you're going to think again. Sometimes the variation just goes out of control, especially when you are beyond 5 moves, So here the point is that after rook takes d1, the easiest way to win is bishop takes e6. After rook e6, queen g7, you have to go here, check, and queen e8. Now, This queen g7 also wins. King e8, queen g8, king d7, here, here. But now, for example, you would need to find the win here, and it's much more complicated than the other. The win here is bishop d5, which if you are in this position, you are probably going to find if you stop to think. This is not a difficult move, but to see it from afar is difficult. To see this from afar is very difficult. So the point is that if you take, well, kind of have to take, otherwise rook b1 comes, queen d5, king b6, rook b1, king a5, and now queen b3. And this is how it's won. Now, the reason why in this position bishop e6 does not win is because black can play queen e5, centralizing the queen, covering a few squares, and yeah, king c7. Not to mention that now there is a clear threat of counterplay with queen e3. So this is when I think things got out of control, when you go too far in one variation. Slow down. Also here, bishop e2 was sort of popular, but black can play rook e d7, and the king just runs away, kills on, remember? So here, for example, after queen g3, he takes on d1, check, king d6, this, the queen is under attack, so you have no time to win a piece or anything. Okay, queen f6, c4, so you don't play c4. Also, the king has more squares to move to, and it's complicated. You have to go for this. And it's funny that the only way to hold this endgame for black to do nothing is to play a5. This is the computer stuff, because in the coming ending, there is a way to make a draw. So yeah, the kind of thing like you cannot play anything else without losing. All right, we are moving on. Is it clear, this, guys? f5, g takes f5, queen g3. There is this line which I probably critical. Rook takes d1, but bishop e6 leads to forced mate. Also, after f5, if you take on d1, and you have this intermediate move, simply bishop e6, king e8, and now we take on d1, and we have a great attack going. Not only we are taking on f6, but also we are going to bring the queen to a4 with an unpleasant check. Let's say queen e5, I can give this check on a4 and try to invade with rook d8. Okay, actually rook d8 is already made, so it's over. All right, moving on. Next one. Okay, this one is difficult, but it's actually a matter of seeing the opponent's idea, which I had this one wrong. I put d takes e5 like many of you. Of course, I saw that bishop d1, knight g6 is very unpleasant. You know, you take on g6, and there is no way that this is going to work. There are too many pieces against our king. The knight, the bishop, the rook, the queen. The number of pieces attacking is way higher than the pieces defending. And we are not even down material like a lot of material. It's just, what is it, an exchange? That is nothing when one is attacking. So here it was important to see this move, which I only saw the day after, when I was rethinking the wrong problem. So bishop h5 did not consider. We stop the threat. We are threatening to take the knight. The knight moves, and then we take. That's it. The knight moves, knight d3, bishop takes d1. Now there is no rook g6. All right. Next one. This one also here is about you're up an exchange, but you can be up, what is it, a piece. You can choose between being up a piece or being up an exchange. 94 is the correct answer. And after rook takes on e4, bishop takes e4, queen e4, you're up an exchange and all your pieces come into play. Rook e1, queen c4, rook ac1. And the next move, you're going to take on h6. There is work to be done as always, but white is better. 2 rook c1 does not work. If you play here, I have queen e2. Now the difference is that when you take on e4, I take your queen, and now I take on b2 and I'm threatening these rooks. Look at the queenside pawns. This is going to give black some counterplay for sure. It's 3 pawns already for a piece. So this position, black is fine. The same thing happens like in other moves. Like for example, you could play knight a2 and say, you know, I'm up a piece and I'm not giving it away. But after a5, black is not worse. This is the things about, you know, sort of a dynamic position. I have these pawns, these pieces are so bad, and this pawn is a weakness, and so is this 5. And black is not worse. Rook e2 is a threat now. And if you play knight c5, then knight c1, then a4. You can see that, you know, no matter what you do, you have bad pieces here. And a3 is a threat now. So you cannot really make this work. Same would happen with other knight moves, like knight d1, bishop b5 comes. And after knight e3, black can take on e3. Black can take on e3. And after rook c1, there is queen e2 here, making things, again, very, very difficult. Not simple. So 94 is correct. And after rook takes, nothing else, nothing like b3, like, you know, there were people trying to go like bishop d3, stuff like this. But after bishop d3, queen d5, again, we have a scenario where it's not clear. Because you don't take on a6, your rook, they don't come into play with rook ac1 anymore. There is queen b3 coming. So there is no need to give up this pawn, at least not now. Just take and develop. All right, let's move on to the next one. This one was extremely difficult. I could not solve it. Good news is that there were many reasonable tries for white. I will go with the right move first. The right move is rook d5. And some of you had it right, even though what I consider was the main problem of this move was not mentioned. And the main problem of this move is knight b2. And when you play rook d2, then black can play this rook c8. And here, what is very difficult to understand, what I couldn't understand, is that white could play knight e3 here, and after takes, there is, I think there is queen g5 here with a winning attack. It's a very difficult move. The whole thing to see it from afar. Because now knight f5 is a threat, and we're taking on d6 like worst case scenario, and the knight on b2 is not playing, something like this. So let's see what happens first. If bishop takes on d5, how is the mate first? So what should I do here? Knight f5? In g8, I'm not saying it. Even here, I'm not saying it. We're a little late, so I'm going to run this and make sure I'm not saying anything very stupid. No, okay, so yeah, I was wrong. I got my line wrong. Rook takes d6 was the move. Sorry. Rook takes d6 was the move. This is what I thought was critical, and I couldn't really understand. And queen g5 comes after this. So there is an attack going. It's very important that this knight on b2 is completely irrelevant to the position. Now we want, like, black is completely hopeless to the threat, for example, of knight g4. Completely. Like if you play something like h5, for example, f3, and now the knight is coming to f5. It's very, very difficult. Way beyond, very difficult to control all these lines. Otherwise, it works. But the thing is that rook d5, knight b2, rook b1, I think it didn't work for the same reason. First of all, I can take here on d5, and when you take on d5, then I take on c2. This is not the way. So knight b2 is very critical. So yeah, if you saw rook d5, it's fine, but there was more than knight b6. Obviously, bishop d5, we're not worried about. I found that here, very normal was to take on c4 here. And after ed4, rook takes d4, because if you get this construction with the knight on e3, and if black ever takes on c4, then your pieces are very good. Even though you're down on exchange, your pieces are quite good on the darkest squares, and this bishop on b7 is terrible. So this is not really strong, and black has ways to deal with this with queen e7. But for example, a position like this is very playable for white. Very, very playable. It's not what the exercise is about, but the exercise is very difficult, and this is a good practical solution. Now, if the idea is that we want to go like queen d1 at some point, put pressure. There is no way for black to break this through without creating severe weaknesses in his own position. Like you can only think about playing f5. No, h5 we play queen d1, no problem. We have no problem with this. Next, maybe queen d2, play on the darkest squares. We might be, we're not playing knight d5. We are not taking on b5. We want black to take on c4. Like if you take on c4 here, then let's say you play something like king g8 to just get out of the checks. We can play queen d1 still. B takes c4, knight takes c4. Very pleasant position. d6 weak, a5 square weak. The queen comes to d2, and you have good pieces. You're down on exchange, but your pieces are great. Queen d3, everything is very solid, compact. So this is a good practical solution, but the strongest move is rook d5, no doubt. In the game, black chose to play knight a3, which was not critical at all, because here white just brings the knight where he wants this knight, but he could also play rook d2, The knight is defended. So here, this was the game. Fantastic position for white. I control d5, and I have every piece defended. So dream position. Okay, very difficult position, guys. You know, there were like, I like this b takes e4, to be honest, not because it was my choice. I really like the position. I thought rook d5 was overly complicated. Probably, you know, in a game, it's possible to play for sure. It was played, but it was much more complicated than what most variations show. Knight b2 is obviously very critical. Rook d2, rook c8, then knight e3, queen c3, and then just take on d6 and say, you know, down a piece, but you cannot move. I have threats. Dark squares are weak, and queen g5 and knight g4 coming. You know, it's not. And black cannot even play something like this because not only, you know, it's like I have different ideas, no? Queen h4, knight g4. So let's move on. A lot of spend on this position. This one is a little bit simpler. This one I fail as well. Knight g5. Main move, you want to attack the weakness on f3. That much is clear. e4, and now the second move is the one that it feels difficult. I took on d3 because I overestimate this position. Here after queen, f2, I can actually play rook e2, which is so difficult to see it. So difficult to see this move. Because you don't expect this to be hanging on f3, of course, but he can actually get away with this. The solution is actually logical. After e4, you want to go f5. Just breaking through this pawn chain. Rook c5 is not bad, but white doesn't have to take. White can play, for example, queen e3. It's not so clear. Rook c5 is not that bad, but white can play this. You can also go like e5 here with the idea of queen f6. Playable position, not better, but rook d1, then white will be able to defend. So f5, the point is that after e takes f5, not only you can take on f3, but you have a beautiful, beautiful move. Does anyone care to find it? Has to do with the f2 square and the king coming out to f2. Here, knight h4. You can also start with knight f3 and then this knight h4. We want to take on f3 with the h knight. So if you take, now knight takes, and after king f2, we have queen h4. And this should be it. Even here, I find it very confusing. But I see that the mate on g1 is there. So if king e3, queen g5, and there is queen g1. You have knight f4, but knight f4, even e5 will work. Not worried about that. There is also rook d2. E takes f5, even. Yeah, many wins once the king is there. Or you can also do this, and after king f2, now there is a beautiful move as well here, which is knight f4. All right. So if you take, there is queen h4, I think, and yeah, I think here queen h4, king e3, and now maybe just e takes f5. Is this correct? I'm gonna check it. We're not doing very well on time today, so I'm gonna run over some things. Yeah, e takes f5, king in the center. Main idea is that the attack goes on. After bishop g5, I mean after bishop e5, you have g5. But also rook c5. It's like black is going to break through somehow. Very difficult stuff. I found this very difficult. Also here G5 makes a lot of sense. Anyway, but yeah, but if in this position, you think about it, F5 is very logical. This is a move that you want to play, no doubt. All right, we move on to the third page. We only have 14 minutes to make it. We can go a little bit over, it's not a problem, but let's see if people are happy. We can go over. If not, what you're gonna do. I thought that the positions deserve a lot of detail. Just what I think. Okay, so here is black to play. You gotta go f6 because white has this threat of queen h7, so you cannot play knight d3 no matter how you want it. You can't. So you gotta go f6, and then you try to bring this knight to d6. Maybe knight f7, knight b7, knight d6. Yeah, a little worse. Nobody likes to have a fianchetto without the bishop on g7. But what you're gonna do? I mean, you have to make your dark squares stronger. So you have to play f6. You have to put this bishop out of work. If knight d3, queen h7, this is important to see. So people are saying f6, g5, and knight. No, don't. I'm not thinking about. I mean, we'll see later. No, f6. We'll see about g5. It's not a priority to go g5. At least now, it's a decision for later. Honestly, you have to be sure about it. Pawns don't move back. Like the way I see it, I would put the knight on d6, and I would try to just play queen b6, and black is very solid. No need to overextend on my king side. All right, the next one. Here, there are two threats. It's bishop f6 and knight h3. Your only move is queen e7. Your only move is queen e7, and ask questions later, maybe knight g2 or whatever, but you don't have a choice. What you're gonna do? If you take on h5, then knight h3, and if you move the king, then bishop f6. Again, these are sort of basic things, but it's not basic. I mean, it's not really obvious. Not everyone got it right, and I think that it's important that when you look at the position, you have to see all the threats the opponent has, like all of them, and do something about it. You have to identify what is the problem in this position. Here, for example, the same thing. If you look at it, if you start thinking active, like rook g4, let's go to c4, or rook g2, let's make the black king. After bishop c1, it's just over. For this reason, you have to go d6, just weakening this pawn, so the king is not in danger anymore. And after it takes, then rook g2. Once you see bishop c1, you will find d6 because you need to do something about your king. Your king is a weakness here. So the move to c here, bishop c1. Going a little bit fast. Any questions, any doubts, any remarks? Please just write it in the chat. All right, here. So the whole page is actually prophylaxis. The whole page is prophylaxis. This one is a little bit more difficult, but at the same time, it's sort of natural. You have a weakness here that you want to attack. This is a pretty obvious move. Now, when you see an obvious move like this, you have to say, okay, how will he defend? But also look if you have something better, and so on. You want to start with bishop g5 in this position, because you prevent the opponent from developing all his pieces, and you will be able to play bishop e6 on the next move. He doesn't have any actual good move here. The game continues with rook a4, attacking the only weak pawn that white has. Well, if you can call it weak. Then after bishop e6, knight a6, take on f7, bishop g7, and here Aagaard played f3, won the game 20 moves later, but rook d7 was even stronger, just creating a pass pawn. Not only creating a pass pawn, when you take this pawn on d6, you will also be targeting this g6 pawn, this weak pawn, and therefore all of the black pawns on the king side. So this is the idea. Of course, if bishop f8, we may have this unpleasant threat. Now, if you start with bishop e6, black plays bishop e7. You are better, you have two bishops, you have active pieces, but you are not breaking through yet. Now bishop g5 is met with king f8, which is the move that most people miss. It's not obvious how to continue. That white is better, no doubt, but how do you continue? How do you actually take the pawn on f7? It's no longer obvious. All right. That being said, we move on to the next one. I failed on this one. I just missed the opponent's idea. So here I wanted to play something like rook c4 or something, or rook c7. I don't remember what I wrote anymore. But the point is that whatever rook moves here, which was the move Korsnoy played, white gets rook c1. And now it is impossible to avoid the invasion of the white pieces, of these weaknesses. Like now, for example, if you play rook d7 like Korsnoy played, then rook a b1, and now this pawn on b7 is hanging. To play here, and the pawn is lost. I mean, bishop takes b7 with the idea of knight c6. So here, black was worse. Same happens with many other moves, like rook c5. Okay, I can take on b7 immediately because I have this threat. So the right move is rook a8, chasing the knight. And now if knight b5, you can play rook a5. You can even play rook b8, I believe. This is the right move. It's that simple. Then you can play the other rook to b8. Like if I play a4, now we can defend the pawn. We might even play b6 here. I don't see why not, because if we manage to put this bishop on c5, there are no entry squares for the white rooks. So yeah, not a huge problem here. Don't really like it. My rook on a5, but that's the price to not lose. If you play rook fb1, then we are happy with this position, because we have this weakness, but we're going to play b6, and white also has this weakness. So at some point you can imagine one scenario where he will double rooks, but he will not be able to take because he will lose the a2 pawn. So let's say you play a4, we play b6. And a5, we can play maybe rook a6. Oh, b5, b5. Okay, so we can play actually. Okay, yeah. b5, and if a6, we have rook b. We have rook b6. I just missed this here. We have rook b6. This is not possible because we can take it. I thought that okay, here. b7. It's not working. Okay, is there one more? I think there is one more, yeah? And finally, yes, this one was very difficult because it's sort of a difficult prophylaxis. It is sort of unclear whether you are playing for a draw or to win. You're actually playing for a win. These two passed pawns are unstoppable, but White has an idea. And his idea is when you play rook c8, he wants to play this. This is the point. Very easy to miss, not something obvious again. When you take, there is queen b7, and there are hanging pieces here. So that is one problem that Black has. The other problem that Black has is that if you play something like queen a4 or any other move that doesn't move this rook from e8, few people miss this. You have to pay attention. You have to pay attention to the opponent's idea all the time. You take on f7, there is bishop d5. So it's game over quickly. So what to play? You have to go rook b8. Yeah, if rook f1, you cannot take either because queen f7 is another threat. Same thing. So the right move here is rook b8. Not easy. No, you miss this. It's definitely not an easy move. Not an easy move. I don't remember what I had here. I had here bishop d4. I had here bishop d4. The problem is that here he can take and take sort of the same thing. Queen b7. He's going to take on d4 and take on b2. And the position is about equal. So this is what I had. It didn't work. But rook b8, and the idea is that if you take on d7, I take, and now you cannot take on b2. You cannot play queen b7. And yeah, that pawn on b2 is going to win the game. You cannot really use this pawn at all. So black is better. You can easily imagine something like this, and try to put some more pressure with bishop e6. As long as you don't allow any rook takes on e6. But for example, White cannot even play this because you can take and then promote. So anyway, we made it on time, guys, which unbelievable. Finish on the hour. Thank you so much. I got submissions for homework 162 already. I will mark it as soon as possible. In the meantime, I'll see you again in the next class. Thank you very much. We had a lot of people submitting this week. Let's repeat it the next one. Bye-bye.